everyone, it's Shel C from PaperOcotilloStudio. Today I'm sharing with you day 2 of our hashtag AJOS Peculiar Persona challenge for the month of October 2021. This is our daily art journaling challenge that we do every year. Last year we did Snark Attack. The year before I think it was just daily art journaling, but we in the Art Joy of Sharing art community, we provide a list of prompts, and then you can just use those prompts as you wish, interpret them how you want, and make a art journal page every day. And you can post it in the group or on social media using the hashtag so we can find it. Our prompts this year are names, like names that will inform you as to what that character might be, and then you can create the character in your art journal. We think this is going to be super fun. Lots of ways to create characters, like drawing them or collaging them, cutting up magazines, cutting up children's books, coloring books or whatever, printing things off the internet. Be sure about copyrights though. And, painting. There's so many different ways to make characters, and it's fun to make them and then think about their story as you're making them in your art journal. It's a great activity to explore creativity, to practice some art, and to do something fun every day. So that's what we're doing in October 2021. Today's prompt for day 2 is Ruthie Restless, and obviously that's a pretty obvious one. It's a restless character. And so I started thinking about, what that means to me. I actually personally am feeling very restless, and I think a lot of us are, being confined into our homes by COVID. Still, almost all the way through 2021, and we're still dealing with it. I feel like I want to get out and go do something and go, ugh. But to me, the most obvious restless character is a teenager, because they're ready to grow up. They're ready to make their own decisions. They're ready to get out of the house. They're ready to stop acting like a child. They want, well, they still are acting like one, but being treated like a child. They don't want to be treated like a child anymore, but yet they are still children. They, you try to get them to do something with you. They don't want to. You get them in the car. They want to know, are you there yet? I mean, they are restless characters for sure. So I plan to portray my Ruthie Restless character as some sort of a teenager. That is my plan as I'm starting my page. The first thing I did with this page was to make some gesso on it because it had bleed through from the other side. This is a Dilutions dialogue journal with lines in it. And I have 3 different ones of these that I have in their case, their cover. And I just did that earlier and let it dry. Then I had these pieces of paper with some botanical stuff on them that I had actually gotten off of a menu at a restaurant called Sisters in Pendleton, Oregon. And I had them in my purse, planned to use them for collage, and I found them. And I'm like, oh yeah, I was going to use these. And so I decided to use them today. So I started with those, and then I wanted to use pink. I wanted to use shades of pink and floral ideas because this character is going to be female since her name is Ruthie. Could Ruthie be a male? Yeah, probably. But to me, that's a female name. So I glued down all my different collage bits, including some napkins and those papers that I got from the restaurant menu that I tore up. Is a temporary menu because, they just print them out now for one single use, so they don't have to clean them. So it wasn't something that was not just going to be trashed. It was something that I could tear up if I wanted to. Then once that was all glued down, I kind of did a little bit of Naples yellow finger painting to kind of unify everything. And then I took a very light pink and made a glaze with some glazing medium. That's acrylic paint without pigment in it. And I mixed that with the light pink, painted that over the whole page, and then dried that all up, and that is my background. I decided that I needed more green because I do have something that I cut out to put on there and has some green on the edges, and so I wanted to make sure that there was some green in my composition. Plus, this is supposed to be floral. It has pictures of plants and flowers, and then there's definitely a lot of green involved in that, right? So I'm using some archival ink. This is the color Peeled Paint, and I have some stamps that are stems and leaves, and I'm stamping those on with the Peeled Paint green color, which is kind of an olive green. And then I also went around the edges of the page with the ink pad and just made kind of a frame using the ink, rubbing it around the edges of the page. Something I like to do. I like things to be in boxes. I must have a very ordered mind. So I think that's a cool little thing to have all your little archival ink pads in a box like that. Those are from Ranger. I also did some splattering with my white Posca pen, which is acrylic paint. Made some white splatters across. And then I'm ready to start building my foreground of my page. I was thinking about Restless, and all season I've been feeding the hummingbirds outside with hummingbird feeders. I make a syrup, a simple syrup, and put it in the hummingbird feeders because I think they're really cool. But if you were to think of something that exhibits restlessness, it would have to be hummingbirds, right? They don't stop moving. They're constantly moving. They're constantly going from one place to another. And also, in the case of a couple of them that I have that keep visiting my house, they are impatient. If you can't get that syrup in there fast enough, they'll fly right up to you and chirp in your face. That totally happens to me. They're not afraid of me. They're like, why haven't you put that stuff in the jar already? Hurry up. Chirp, 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 right in my face. It's hilarious. So I decided to base my character on a hummingbird, and then I want to give my hummingbird human characteristics because I think it's fun. This is a fun way to build a character for me. Um, cutting up different pieces of things. And I decided to give it hands and feet and a face. You can still tell it's a hummingbird, but now it's got some boots that are made for flying, and some hands in case it wants to grab something, and then a very impatient and restless looking face that is on some just regular paper. So I cut all these things out and glued them down. What I'm gluing everything down with now is Yoo-Hoo glue stick, which is a good glue stick for gluing in your journals. You remember our journal's just going to be closed. It's a book, so you don't need to be too concerned about it being exposed to much wear and tear. So using a glue stick is really easy, and it works great for things like magazine images, which don't take to water at all. I did seal that one with a layer of matte medium over the top, and it did bubble. So definitely fluid mediums and magazine images don't go well together at all. I would for sure say you want to use a glue stick because this doesn't have a lot of water in it to cause the bubbling problems that they seem to have. So I wanted to make everything more like an illustration because the face is an illustration. And also the printed out legs, I printed a whole sheet of legs and hands, with boots and gloves and all this type of stuff that I'm using for a collage sheet. I printed it off of, well, I don't even know where I got it, but the quality of it is really low. And so I wanted to make details on the boots. So I did that with a very fine pen. And I also did a little bit of that on the hands and everything else. And that's an illustration pen. And then I went in with some Pitt pens. These are brush tipped pens that have India ink in them. So that's a permanent medium. I don't think I said archival ink that I used earlier is permanent. It doesn't run with water. When you're doing mixed media, you can use water soluble mediums, but I tend to go towards more permanent ones because there are so many layers in mixed media that if you put something wet over the top of something that's water soluble, it will smear it and then that layer has been ruined. So I do tend towards the more uh, permanent products. Of course, that being said, right to the left there, I am going to use a little bit of Neocolor 2 water-soluble crayons just because I like the colors that are in them and I like the pigment saturation. I don't use them very much, but I did use them a little bit. I was trying to color the face with the pet pens, but they don't blend as nicely as these water-soluble crayons, obviously. If I can blend them with water with my water brush. So I did end up putting the crayon on there, just on the face. And I'm not planning on going on the top of it with anything else, so it's not a big deal. And I made sure that I got that really dry. So this is a ruby-throated hummingbird. So I did make the throat of the character. You could see a little bit of the ruby feathers poking under the neck, and then I did do that all the way up to the under the chin, so that it's still ruby-throated hummingbird slash human hybrid. Maybe it's a fairy. I don't know, but it's Ruthie Restless, and she's a very impatient teenage, half human, half hummingbird. Yep, that's my character. So I'm using a white fine tip Posca pen, which is an acrylic paint pen, to add some scratchy highlights to my illustration and making everything look like it goes together. When you're sticking a magazine thing with an illustrated thing with some other things with, it's all over the place. So adding the lines and the highlights and the shadows make everything blend together as if it was one image. And that's what I'm doing with all this fussing. I do it very quickly. It's not precise, it's not perfect. It's just some quick action there. So then I was done with adding my focal image and I decided I needed to add some words of some sort. And I have this stencil designed by Carolyn Dubie for Stencil Girl products. You can buy it over at Stencil Girl products. And it's all the type of words that teenagers say. That just they're the words and sentences that have attitude. And so I decided to stencil some of those on over my background using some acrylic titanium white paint and a makeup sponge. This serves to add even more cohesion to everything because now we have these white bits here and there, and it makes everything come together a little bit better. So you're not the boss of me. I'm not listening, whatever. Ugh, get out of my head. All those type of things you might hear a teenager say. So I got those on the page. And then the very last thing that I did was to add the name prompt, which is Ruthie Restless. I added that on with some black archival ink and some rubber stamps. These rubber stamps are from Stampin' Up, but they're super old, so I don't really know if they're still available. They probably are on eBay. That's about the only place you can buy these really long retired stamps these days. This stamp set has an upper and a lower case mounted on the same block, and so I'm able to use both the upper and lower to stamp Ruthie Restless. I hope you guys are enjoying the October Daily Art Journaling Challenge so far. I hope you're participating. If you haven't joined the Art Joy of Sharing group yet, you can go over to Facebook and ask to join. Make sure that you answer the questions. And as for this video, please remember to give me a thumbs up. You can leave a comment or question below. Subscribe if you haven't already. And click that little bell thing to turn on your notifications. So that's it for me for today. Thanks so much for watching. Bye-bye.